The first thing I really want to say, which I think is most important about today, and as we talk about dreaming for 2024, is I hope that everybody in here is dreaming for a Super Bowl win on February 11th. We got to start with that. No, but it's exciting to really celebrate another year of the Dream Keeper initiative and all the work that has taken place under those resources. It is really unprecedented for San Francisco, that level of investment in the Black community, and we won't be apologetic about saying the Black community. And for us to be able to continue to provide that investment year after year since 2020, it is something that everyone needs to understand the magnitude of. And we all need to be in lockstep together to make sure that we can maintain those resources as we continue to move to the future. So as we talk about what we want to do in 2024, what we dream about, expectations, really make sure and understand that this unprecedented investment is not automatic. It's not something that is automatically going to keep coming to community if community doesn't stick together and fight together. So I want to make sure that we all understand that collectively as we move forward. As you do the work in community with the resources that you receive, as you work with other organizations, other community groups, understand that without that tight fist, we're going to be in trouble. We are under attack as Black people in the city. We are under attack as Black people in general. And our only power right now is the power of unity. So that's right. That's the only way. But I do again just want to thank, of course, the Human Rights Commission under the leadership of Dr. Cheryl Davis. I want to thank, yes, give her a hand. I want to thank, of course, Dr. Saida Liatetufu Birch, and really the entire Human Rights Commission team, the mayor's office, my colleagues who have continued to support this investment. We want to make sure that we all understand that we've been working together collectively to realize this vision and realize this support and these resources and get them in to the hands of community. So thank you all for being your best selves. Thank you all for the work that you've done and for what you're going to continue to do going into 2024. Let's keep working together. Let's keep banging. And as I've said before, like the coach John Wooden from UCLA said, just imagine all the great work we could do together if no one was concerned about who gets the credit. Let's bang. Thank you.
Good afternoon. At least this front row, they sound Saida louder than the rest of y'all. Y'all like, look, oh, Dr. Scott over here, like I'm in church on Easter Sunday. Say your speech again. We didn't hear you the first time. Good afternoon. I just want to first and foremost thank all of you who are still in here, because I know you were looking for Thanksgiving dinner and you just got like the leftovers. That's okay. I want to thank you all for still being in space with us today, for being here right now. I am always grateful for the person that's coming up next. And when we were watching the video and talking about alimony, I was like, oh, that's your stomping grounds. That's where you was like doing the real work, right? And she continues to do the real work. And so as we get ready to move through this work, through this day, and we're having these conversations about the power of unity, the power of community, the power of voice, and how we do all of that work. When she was doing work with the Domestic Workers Alliance and was like advocating and helping people be empowered to speak up for themselves. I didn't say giving people power, like empowered and empowering themselves to recognize the power that they have, and then we have our collective power, and then went on to do other amazing work. But what I'm most excited about is the work that Alicia Garza is doing. Now give it up for Alicia Garza. The work that she is doing now is most critical. And so when we hear stats that say, 100,000 folks are doing this work, but only 425 of them are Black. Like, we need that data to make the case. When we talk about, we've gone from 14% of land to less than 1.2% of land, like, we need that data to be able to do the work that we need to do in terms of like collective power. And so, too often we get only locked into the qualitative story. We get locked into telling our stories, but we need to also be able to say we disproportionately have too many Black people telling the same stories of bias, discrimination, of poverty, of incarceration, of humiliation, of mental stress. And that's the work that she is doing. So I want to thank her because she could be anywhere, literally in the world, and she chose to take time out to be here with us today in San Francisco. So next up is Alicia Garza. Thank you. Now I want to say the last time, I feel like the last time I was on stage with her, we had I like had to come out of character and be like, "You got me messed up. Sit
Yes,
down."
I was just remembering that.
I didn't say it to her though. It was
Uh-uh.
somebody else.
Cheryl was ready though. Cheryl was like, "You're not gonna play with me on today or
Or
any
any
day."
other day.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of y'all don't know, but you will find out.
Okay.
Uh,
Period. Period.
um, I am just look, look. Some people are like, it's true.
Yeah.
Um, when we were thinking and planning about this day and about dreaming forward and really pushing the boundaries around like what we accept and what we take, um, there's a piece of this that is, you know, around organizing
Yeah.
and what it takes to really be an organizer. And so often, I think folks don't realize, right, like the evolution of organizing, whether it is you putting all your little, whether it's G.I. Joe, which some people may not know what that is, or your Barbies or your stuffed animals around and like playing the game, or whether it is about like, I'm going to organize my siblings and my cousins so we can do whatever it is that we want to do at the family reunion.
Yep.
Like there's a level of that, right, that we all experience. What was your like, oh, I'm ready to organize moment?
Mm, I've had so many. Um, but I guess I'll just start off by saying so we all have a collective definition because lots of people use words and we all mean different things. So, organizing is really the process by which we build relationships with each other so that we can come together and fight for what we long for. Yeah. It's the process of building relationships with each other so that we can come together and fight for the things that we long for. And what I think is important about that understanding is that nowhere in there is there a dependence on goodwill. Because we understand, right, that there's lots of things that people should do, but there's things that make people do things. And organizing is a process that we use to make people do things. And we make people do things by activating our collective power and then enshrining that power either in laws, in legislation, in dollars, in institutions, right? We make rules that govern us. So we need the negotiation part where we're like, okay, are you going to do this by goodwill? But then we also need the piece that's like, you going to do this whether you want to or not, right? And both of those things have to go hand in hand. And I think for me, where I really learned about the power of organizing is in Bayview Hunters Point. And really working with folks who knew each other, knew of each other, had been in community together for a long time, but like maybe didn't know a lot about what each other longed for, right? And when I say long for, like the things that you think about when you're about to go to sleep and it's quiet and ain't nobody else around and can't judge you for it, right? Or the things that you wake up thinking about and then you got to get to the rest of your day, but it's the things that keep going on and on in our minds. organizing for me and what I learned in Bayview is like just sitting with people and giving us permission to imagine together. Beyond the day to day, this is what I have to do every day, this is what I'm responsible for. If you could have it your way, how would you have it? And just really sitting with how uncomfortable that exercise is for people because we're never asked that. We never actually get to be asked, like, well, if you could do it your way, how would you do it? We don't even get to be considered as experts, right, on how it should be done. So organizing really helps unlock all of that. And part of what is also important to me about organizing is it helps us understand in a different way how things work, right? For me, I remember when I first got into organizing, I had this perspective of like, well, if I could just make you want what I want, then we could get it done,
Well,
right? And then I would go to the board of supervisors and I was like, they don't want it to work like I want it to work. And ain't nobody budging,
mm,
right? And then I realized, like, oh, they have a process that they're using to figure out how things are getting done. And that process, they'll let you watch it. But there's ways for you to be involved, and it's actually not the public comment.
well, well.
It's not. And trust me, I've been in those
You
meetings,
need to say that
long
again.
meetings. It's not public comment where you're influencing how things are done. It's actually at the voting booth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I just put a,
Yeah.
as they say, put a pin there because I think folks need to realize a lot of times when you come to those meetings and you speak at public comment, decisions have already been made.
Yeah, it's done.
That 2 minutes times 100 doesn't always sway what's going to happen after you finish talking.
It rarely sways it. It rarely sways it because when you public comment is just a law that they have to follow to make the final decision. But the decision's been made. They're just clicking down the clock to hear what you got to say so they can say, okay, we heard what you had to say, but the decision was made 3 days ago, right? Just period. So the power that we have and the power that we exercise through organizing is deciding who gets to sit in that room. And you decide who gets to sit in that room, and you also decide what they do when they get in those rooms and what agenda that they're negotiating when they're not in those rooms and they're not with you. And you get to determine whether or not they get to keep sitting there over and over again.
All right.
That's a lot of power. And it's a lot of power that we leave on the table. So organizing helps us reclaim that power and use it for the aims of being able to govern ourselves in a real way.
Give it up for all of that. So, can you make, or do you think there is a distinction between, because as you're talking and I, thinking about movement building versus organizing, is there a difference? What is the difference? Um, because I think you've done movement building in the, so I want to hear what you see as a distinction or if there is one.
Well, I was so appreciative of the panel that came before us
Mhm.
and our family who was talking about how some pieces of our movements are seen as more important than others.
Mm.
And I just want to reiterate that we really do need all of it.
Yes.
Like, we really do need all of it. And so I would say organizing is under the umbrella of movement building. And it's not about which one is, they're different things, but they are congruent.
Yes.
You have to have organizing to build a movement.
Right.
You have to have a movement that holds organizing in many places. And then there's a lot of other things underneath that umbrella. There's electoral organizing, right? There's direct service,
Mhm.
there's caregiving, right? There's like a lot of different things underneath that umbrella of movement building. And movement is really where you bring all those folks together who long for something and try to give it some direction.
Yes. So connecting back, because you mentioned in the last panel, and one of the points that I think aligns with something you just said, but also with the panel where they talked about the creation of capital, right? And is there space in this movement building? And again, this is like freelancing, but just thinking about the last panel, thinking about what I've heard about the ability for Black people, people of color, but specifically Black people to build capital, because when startups start, they go first round to friends and family who invest, right? And that it's a different type of movement building or things that they have access to. And that as we're doing this work, we sometimes are so limited, and so our freedom dreaming, our ability to imagine beyond is sometimes unfortunately limited by our resources, right? Like we find it hard to imagine beyond what we already have in hand. And so when we think about organizing, movement building, imagining things beyond, and then understanding that historically we haven't had access to the resources, does that come into play when we try to organize or build movements? Like we don't have the money for the signs, or we don't have the money for the room to organize, to meet, to like, how does the resources impact even some of that?
Well, it's huge. It's huge. So let me just start with this, which is that's all designed. That's designed by rules and policies and laws. And even this distinction between public funding and private funding, the ways in which city governments, right, county governments are really now very dependent on seeking out private capital to close the gap in public funding, right? Like all of that is designed, and different places have different gaps. Okay, so just to say it, there's some cities they're not having that conversation about we got to find private funding to do things for the public good. They're really flush with cash. I mean, I'm sitting next to a mayor here. They could tell you that's the truth. And then there's other places, which mostly are populated by us, where they're like, we don't got it. So we got to look for other ways to get it. And I think there's something to be said about asking ourselves, why is that? Why is that? Like, you pay taxes,
Mm.
you generate resources for the place that you live in, and you should be able to get things back. And whether or not and in what formula you are getting things back really depends on your political power in a place.
Mm.
Power, just for us to have a collective definition again, is the ability to make the rules and change the rules, not just for yourself, but for
Well,
everybody else. So when I say political power, right, I mean the ability to make the rules and change the rules around who represents you, where the money goes, where it doesn't go, and what's the story around where the money goes and where it doesn't go, right? That's political power. And the way we get that is through organizing. So I just wanted to connect those dots and also say that, yes, the reason that disproportionately Black people, people of color, women, right, have a harder time gaining access to capital is generally because it's not under the umbrella of the thing that is supposed to be accountable to you. Private capital is accountable to itself.
Mhm.
So again, you're depending on somebody's goodwill. I have $3 billion and I'm feeling good today. So I think I might give you a little bit of that. But you're gonna have a high interest rate and you have all these
Right.
things, and you got to really show me in half the time that you can do it, because you know I don't believe in you. But you could also have that capital under the structures that are accountable to you.
Mm.
And so I think we have to keep fighting for that piece. Like,
Yeah.
private capital is defunding government because they want power over how money flows. So you actually need to keep putting money into government because it is the thing that you have a lever of decision making around.
Mm.
Does that make sense? Now, lots of people will tell you, no, you don't want that because you don't want the government deciding what you can do and what you can't do. And I'm like, yeah, but you get to be a part of that.
Right.
You really do. according to the laws. That's changing because they figured out that we figured it out.
Right.
So now they're like, actually, we don't want you to make those decisions.
Right.
So now next time you got to have this ID, that ID, you got to live here, you got to vote this many times so you can keep voting. I mean,
Right.
it's like really a mess, but that's why they do that.
Well, when you say that, like I'm having flashbacks around voting rights, right? And the reversal, really, these
Yeah.
trends that we're seeing.
Yeah.
In the same way, the power of knowledge, right? These fights and battles about like what can be talked about or read in schools.
Yeah.
And what's unfortunate, and just again, this idea of like using your power for good or in these battles, what's unfortunate is that we're seeing with these school boards across the country, we're seeing with the somebody told me, actually, Michael Blake was telling me that in terms of um, preparing for elections, that people are using online gaming
Yeah.
as a way to like drop in the chat and get people to think a certain way or to move a certain way. Like, but the power is in the people who own or have access to the online gaming or who are creating those things. So when we think about, because you've given us this great definition of power, like how do we like get power to be used for good? Like how do we help people who are kind of at this, like I'm hearing people talk about the election and like I'm just not going to vote or I'm not going to be, how do we get people to step into their power and just not be like, that's just the way of the world?
Mhm. I have so many thoughts on this, and I want to say it in a way. I want to say it in a way where you can receive it, because lots of times when we start talking about voting and Black people, we get preachy.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so I don't want to do that. So check me if I do, but I feel really strongly about this.
Yeah.
One of the proudest pieces of our lineage as Black people is that we have refused to take our foot off their necks.
Ooh.
It's one of the
Well,
proudest lineage, like pieces of our lineage. Like we would not be here if we ever let the pressure off, despite many, many attempts to get rid of us, push us aside, disappear us, all the things. I think the way, to answer your question directly, Cheryl, I think the way to use our power is to understand where it lies.
mm,
I don't think voting is the answer to everything.
all right.
I think voting does a very particular thing in a very particular context. It's one piece that we need. I just don't think we can abandon it,
Mm,
thinking that abstaining is the same as exercising power.
mm,
Abstaining is sitting out. I won't participate. I will not engage. That's fine. We mistake that for like the boycotts.
mm,
They're different things.
yeah.
Not engaging is not the same as a boycott with a political objective and a strategy. Boycotts were about starving
Mhm.
a system
Right.
of its money to function
Right.
so that people would come to the table and engage,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
Abstaining is like, I don't have a political objective. I don't have a strategy on how we're going to achieve that political objective. I'm just not going to buy into this. And that's okay if that's how you feel, but we have to be really clear about what's what.
Yeah.
When we participate, we keep our foots on their neck, feet. And we shouldn't be, we shouldn't, we, let me say it differently. We need to be very clear about what participation does and what it doesn't do. I don't care about political parties. I don't. I vote with them, but because I have an objective, I'm trying to create a terrain that I can fight on
Right.
and get the things I need. We're in a context right now where even fighting back is criminalized. So if you abstain,
Hmm.
you leave the space open for people who decide they want to fight back to be taken out. Participating also gives the rest of us cover
Yes.
to keep fighting.
Yes.
So that's second piece. The third piece is politics is not about friends, it's about interests.
All right.
I don't, there are politicians that I like and have personal relationships with, but I like them because we have personal relationships, not because I like their politics and policies. And when it comes down to engaging about the rules that you make, I hope our friendship will carry us through the
Right.
fight we finna have.
Right. That's what's up.
Sometimes it doesn't,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so when you vote, it's not about do I like this person?
Mm,
Would I have them over for dinner? Would I buy them a bottle of wine?
Right.
Please don't. Please don't. It's actually about can I get them to do the things I need them to do?
mm,
And if they're not perfect or even good on all the things that I want, how do I exert my pressure and my power to make sure they know they better get to it? The only way that happens is through participation, literally. So let's look at numbers. There's a couple 100 million people in the United States. Maybe a little bit less than half participate. They're making laws all over the country to cut out people like you and me who participate because it benefits how power operates now. It literally does.
Yeah.
So when they tell you you got to have an ID and it's got to be this ID, not the ID you used to drive, but you got to now go get a new ID
the real
just to
ID.
vote, I need you to understand why they're doing that. Politics is a numbers game.
Mm,
You got 10 people total. If 9 people vote, they're making decisions for all 10.
that's right.
If you got 10 people total and 2 people vote, they're making decisions for all 10. That's just how that game works. So, when we're thinking about how it is that we build political power, we really have to keep asking ourselves, am I abstaining with a clear purpose and outcome in mind? And will that outcome actually happen because I'm sitting out? I'm hearing a lot of things from people like, I'm not going to vote because I'm mad about how the president is doing the things the president is doing. I'm like, I get it. I'm sick to my stomach about what this country does.
Mm.
Sick to my stomach and sick to my stomach that like it represents me.
Right.
I promise you, me sitting out, if one of them loses, they're not going to wake up the next day and go, man, I really should have done something different. I really should have done something different. No,
No.
no. You have to do both things. You got to get the person in that's going to give you the best terrain to fight on.
Mm,
You pick who you want to fight, not who you want to be friends with.
mm,
And then you also have to keep fighting them
right.
around the things that you care about, like war and militarism and genocide and Black land and sovereignty and food and healthcare and childcare and abortion rights and
Right,
all the
all these.
things.
Yeah.
But it requires engagement. Now, last thing I'll say, because I promised I wasn't going to preach, so I'm going to slow it down. The last piece of this is there's many ways to participate. There's many ways to participate. So if you feed people and that's what you do, keep doing that and do it well.
Yeah.
And maybe create a space when you're feeding people to ask people, are you going to participate? What do you need to be able to participate? You need a ride? You got questions? You want to talk about it? Let's talk about it over the food I'm providing for you.
Right.
If you're a caregiver, keep doing that. We need that. Everybody is not an organizer and everybody ain't got to be
Right.
with the bullhorn and the sign, but everybody has to participate
Right. Do
for
your
us to
part.
get somewhere together.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm like, we're getting
Black woman owned.
close to the end. I'm like, I have
Clari-T
all
Media.
these questions. So I will just say two things. One, I won't ask you to necessarily respond to because I want you to talk about Black Futures Lab and the power in that and the possibility of that. But I just wanted to double back on your point around the friendship and politics and policy. And I think it's really hard for folks in San Francisco because it's so small.
I know.
And folks, oh, I remember him and her from this and that, and people all, everybody knows everybody's business.
Yep.
And you're making decisions based on a personal relationship
That's
that
right.
has nothing to do with the day-to-day job and that influences and shows up, and then people personalize about who's with who and who's not with,
Yep.
right? And I think it makes it very difficult
Yeah.
to be effective because you're not fighting about the policies. You're fighting about, like, well, when I was 12, she didn't share her ice cream.
Right. 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 I got I got lots to say about that. And I'll do it with the Black Futures Lab. Yeah. So, one of the things I think on the first day of Black Futures Month that we need to grapple with as a community, right, is how do we deal with this dynamic of what happens when our people
Mhm.
get power?
Yes.
How do we deal with the dynamic of what happens when our people get power? So the reason I keep talking about engagement is this. Sometimes we're just really excited that our people are in there.
Yeah.
And we're excited because we're like, I know them and they cool and they from the block and whatever, whatnot. But that don't have nothing to do with the decisions that they're making when they get in those roles. And I really do mean this because we also have to understand that part of the design of government and that thing I talked about, public and private, means that private really does influence the public. And so when you get elected, it costs money. And then you need to keep generating money to keep getting elected. And that's just a thing that every single elected official is dealing with.
Every one of them.
Every single one, friend or foe, black or white. So then let's take it up a notch and say, private capital is always lobbying for their interests. They never sit it out.
No.
They don't ever sit it out. And I don't even have to name the companies, you name it. Any of them. They know land is available. They are taking people out to lunch. They calling them on the phone. They texting them emojis and gifs and TikToks and all the things. They're building relationships. And then they cash in on those relationships when it's time to make a decision. We don't do that. We don't do that. We're talking to people about the 49ers. You need to talk to these people about land use, evictions, rent prices, literally. And don't let people put you to sleep because they're from the block. The way that we build political capital is by holding people's feet to the fire no matter who they are. No matter who they are. So you see them at the McDonald's. Yeah, what's up, brother? So check this out. The homie got evicted. I want to talk about that. We could talk about the Niners at another time. Our folks who are elected need to have the experience of always being run up the pole when they see us. That is where accountability comes from. And I don't mean it's always got to be funky,
Right.
but we need to get in a practice of, like, no, when we engage, we are speaking to each other within the role that you're playing.
I just want to say I was not ready for the truth today. I'm like, Lord Jesus.
That's the only way for us to have that level of political power that we're talking about,
Yeah.
right? Otherwise, we get what we get. We get what we get. Private capital never abstains. They never sit it out. They never kick back and go, oh, well, that's the homie, so I don't even really want to talk about this part. No, we have real things happening. And frankly, every single one of us has heard that we got to work twice as hard to get half as far. And our politicians should have to do the same with us. At the Black Futures Lab, I actually created an organization that is designed to be a political home for us, a place where we can win the rules that we need to live full and dignified lives. We talked about data, and the Black Census Project that we run is now the largest survey of Black people in America ever done in American history. Ever done. There's no survey bigger than ours. And we are talking to Black people in jail, out of jail, used to be in jail. We're talking to Black folks everywhere from every demographic because we really want to have our finger on the pulse all the time of what we are dealing with every single day. And not just activists like me, regular people, regular people. And we don't just do it to understand, we do it for the service of organizing. So we can actually say with confidence, oh, no, 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 we have talked to 200,000 Black people across the country, and this is what folks are saying. And I can boil that down to a zip code. I can boil all that down to a zip code. I can say, let me tell you what Black women between the ages of 35 and 45 in 94124 think about healthcare reform. That's a tool that we offer to us in the service of power building, and we offer it for free. We have a policy institute where we train people on the system and how it works and how to be a policymaker, even if you're not elected. Any single one of us in here can write laws and get them passed. You ain't got to wait on any of these people. You can really do this. You can do this.
Yeah.
So we have an 8-month rigorous program.
Wow.
Where you get training, mentorship, you write laws, you get them introduced, you get them into committees, and we can show you how to get them out of committee and get them to a decision maker's desk. And we've changed laws in 3 different states using this model, including California.
All right. All right.
And then we also do our own Black voter mobilization work in states across the country. We have 5 places where we're focused: California, Georgia, North Carolina, Louisiana, and Wisconsin, and we hope to expand that. And the work that we're doing is focusing on people who only vote every so often, Black people, every so often. And we don't go to folks and say, you know why you need to vote? No, 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 we don't do that. We go and we just listen. What do you need? What are you dealing with? What happens in this neighborhood every day? What do you want to see from politics? And then we use the data, we use our conversations, right?
Yeah.
To inspire people to participate. And in doing that, I can tell you, we have been able to increase Black voter turnout amongst people who only vote every so often by a lot.
All right.
Gwinnett County, during the midterms, we increased occasional Black voter turnout by 2,100%.
Ooh.
Just listening to people and not leaving people behind because they have questions or because they're cynical or because they've been burned. We all got that, so let's sit down, have that conversation, and then say we can walk together. The other thing we do with the Black Census, which I forgot to say, is we develop a policy roadmap that we can organize around, and it's called the Black Agenda. We have a Black economic agenda that's coming out in June that's really designed around all the things that we heard from the Black Census and what people said they are dealing with and what people said they wanted. And then we can use that for policy fights in San Francisco. We can use it for policy fights in Pinole. We can use it for policy fights in Washington, D.C. But it's helpful for us to have something to be organized around. And so this is a tool that is for us and by us that we can tweak. We could throw it in the trash if we want to, but it's just a starting place for us to reimagine what could government look like if it was run by us, if it was accountable to us, and what could our communities look like if we were the people making the rules.
power. I have a treasure from the Lord. Thank you, Father, for your power. It has resurrected me. I am a vessel. I am a vessel full of power. Yeah, I have a treasure in me. I have a treasure in me. We gotta go, y'all say, Jesus, 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 help me, call his name, Jesus, is the way, Jesus, is the truth, Jesus, is the life, whatever I need, Jesus, is the answer, my healer, my deliverer, anybody know, rest in him, our God, safety in him, he's the wheel, the middle of the wheel, ain't nobody took me like him, ain't nobody took me like him, every call it, Jesus. You wanna dance where you are? One more round. Everybody call him Jesus, 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 Jesus. Who was there when you needed him? Who was there? Never failed, never left you. Jesus, always keeping me. Jesus, my sustainer. Jesus, lover of my soul. Jesus, of my mind. I call him lily of the valley. I call him bright and morning star. Help me, call him. Jesus, 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 my breakthrough. Jesus, my way out. He's the lifter of my head. He's the lifter of my head. I don't know about you today. If it had not been, for Jesus on my side, I don't know where I'd be. I don't know where I'd be. Look down, rescued me. Look down, pull me up. I come about them. I come about them. I come about them. Jesus, 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 somebody dance now.
Today's live stream is being brought to you by Clari-T Media. Support the San Francisco Dreamkeeper Initiative, recognizing and investing in the diverse Black and African American communities of San Francisco with a wide range of programs to support youth, families, seniors, and members of the Black LGBTQ+ communities. Dreamkeeper San Francisco is fostering hope for generations of Black people to feel free to dream boldly. Visit dreamkeepersf.org today.
Hi, my name is Taylor. I'm the founder of Taylor J Collection. We are a women's contemporary clothing brand located right here in Oakland, California. The journey of a woman comes with many changes, and that's why we are very intentional about all of our designs and collections. We make sure to provide elevated comfort, sustainability, versatility, and of course, style. If you're in the Bay Area, come by, say hi, and take some comfy pieces home to add to your closet. Shop with us online at taylorjcollection.com.
If you'd like to be a guest or suggest show ideas, drop us an email or a direct message. We'd love to hear from you. Clari-T Media, human stories, grassroots solutions. Subscribe, like, follow, and share. The Bay Area Mental Health Hour, Clari-T Conversations and We the People. Building trust for the first time. Out of chaos comes clarity. Clari-T Media.
Rock with a few, drip lit like a spotlight. Just winning, media life spinning, media life spinning.
And to feel all the love, yes, the room is full of love today, and I'm so excited about that. This morning, we got to experience some of the data and impact of DKI. We got to dance and rock in our seats a little bit with Domingo and friends. I'm trying to be a friend. We got to hear about the history and the roots of Harlem of the West. And this afternoon, we want to continue to invite that art and culture with the afternoon program. So before I introduce the first number, I just want to tell you what's to follow. We're going to hear from some amazing panelists about what they're doing to advance Black farming, to reclaim land and cultivate the land, to feed our spirits, to feed our culture. We're going to hear from Alicia Garza, special guest, who will be here talking about civic engagement and people power. And then again, we're going to wrap the day with our keynote with Dr. Bettina Love, who's the author of Punished for Dreaming. So we have an exciting afternoon prepared for you today. So Alonzo King Lines Ballet is an internationally celebrated contemporary ballet company guided by the artistic vision of acclaimed choreographer Alonzo King since 1982. With the support of the Dreamkeeper Initiative's Brighter Futures grant, Alonzo King Lines Ballet amplifies its investment in the imagination and creativity of Black youth through an expansion of its dance education programs, Heart with Lines, scholarships to teens at Lines, and the Lines training program, and paid administrative and teaching positions. So, performing today and who you will see next on the stage are dancers representing these Lines programs, Brooke Terry, Giovanna Sals, and Julia Sals in a work they have created entitled Reflections.
I am a farmer, father, and community person. I grow grapes in San Francisco. I've been in wine for probably 5 to 6 years from restaurants. I was the only African American person that worked on the floor serving wine. So when looking at bottles in the cellar, I noticed that there were these domains, chateaus, people having generational wealth. And it made me just kind of think about, like, wow, like Black people like myself don't have this. My family from Louisiana has slowly been losing their land for years. And I know that that land was purchased by people that were formerly like enslaved. This is something I have to do for them. I know too much history of how land and real estate has been used against Black people that I have to do something to fix it. Finding this piece of land at Alamany was kind of my way of forcing myself into the industry. Alamany Farm is a public park, 3.5 acres in the middle of the city. This farm is 100% free produce. Anything that you want on the farm, you can take. They ask that you only take what you need for your family or yourself. Every major park in the city should be like this. Dolores Park needs 20% dedicated to agriculture. Golden Gate Park, 20%. If every neighborhood had this, imagine what the people in the neighborhoods that didn't have enough would be able to do. They're actually sweet. That's cool. Nature's working. Nature's doing its thing. It's crazy that this public farm is like right next to the project and the Black people don't feel comfortable coming in. But I also look at the city and I look at, why would you put a giant fence around it? Is the fence for the projects or is the fence for the farm? Who's keeping who out, you know? I feel like as the Black man on this property that I get to actually be the face and be the trust that bridges the gap. I look at every inch of this farm and I'm like, wow, everything about it is Black healing. It's brown healing. It's all stuff that like we need to remember. Knowing where okra comes from, where collards come from, knowing that Black women brought them in their hair from across like the ocean to save themselves, to grow food. Knowing that Black people were picked for their agricultural skills and that's why they were on plantations. And it's like, if you replace that knowledge, I think people will start to feel empowered and feel like, I want my land back. Right here is a collection of vines that I've been getting from all types of places all over California. I have a bunch of stuff from Paso Robles, which is really cool. I got Kunwa. I have some old Zinfandel. What else? Japanese Burgundy. I'm gonna eventually build this like crazy library, this like living library space that other people can also come and like learn about, propagate from. I'd love to be the Black nerd. I really do. I want to be the Black nerd and like let other Black kids know they can be Black nerds and they can nerd out and we can make money and livings and write books and do whatever we want. Plant related, money related, life related. You know? I think about valuing your time. I think about valuing your energy. I'm always looking to figure out how I can get something done, even if it's the same thing and looking at it 50 different ways. You know, it's like I never give up on the things that I want. And I think that's being an entrepreneur, is like not giving up and seeing it through.
So today we're going to talk about Black food, Black land, Black food and land sovereignty. Now coming to the stage, we have Kelly D. Carlisle. Kelly is the founder and executive director of Acta Non Verba, is a veteran of the U.S. Navy, and has been a recipient of many awards, including the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, Veteran of the Year for the 18th Assembly District, the LA Potts Success Stories Award from Tuskegee University, the Girls Inc. of the Island Cities 2016 Women Who Dare Award, and the 2016 Calvet Trailblazer Award. Kelly is awarded. Yes. She is an avid gardener and is a former Alameda County Master Gardener trainee. She is an active member of the Farmer Veteran Coalition. Ms. Carlisle was selected as one of the 200 U.S. delegates to Slow Food International's Terra Madre and Salon del Gusto in 2012 and 2014. Ms. Carlisle is the December 2011 Bon Appetit Good Food Fellow. She has worked with and mentored preteen and teenage youth since the age of 14, is a native of East Oakland. Yeah, was holding on for it. She is committed to creating positive change in her childhood city. Kelly's work has been honored at the White House by President Barack Obama, and she has been selected as a 2020 Castanea Fellow. And I'm blessed to be one of Kelly's board members at Acta Non Verba Youth Community Farm. Now coming to the stage, we have Paula J. Harrell. P. Harrell Wines was founded by winemaker and San Francisco native Paula J. Harrell. Paula received a BA in history and Spanish from UCLA, during which time she studied abroad in Madrid, Spain, where her interest in wine began. After this, she began assisting her father with real estate holdings, buying and selling and renting several properties in San Francisco, which piqued her interest to build her own real estate investment portfolio. Paula went on to pursue her MBA from San Francisco State University and has a long-standing career in real estate and mortgage finance. Since completing her undergraduate studies, Paula made it a priority to learn everything she could about wine. She purchased a timeshare in Napa and spent all of her free time visiting wineries, gleaning knowledge, technique, and education from winemakers, taking classes, participating in blending sessions, and immersing herself in the culture. After years of engaging, these are great, good long bios, y'all. After years of engaging in wine and culture as a hobby, Paula's great passion and appreciation for all things wine led her to finally make her own and start a business in 2015. Since its inception, P. Harrell Wines has made quite an impact. The wines are carried across a number of stores, restaurants, and tasting rooms, not only in the Bay, but in Southern California. In addition, several of the wines in her portfolio have won the SF Chronicle Wine Competition, Orange County Wine Fair Competition, and Sunset Magazine Wine Competition. She has been featured in Women of Wine, Sonoma County and interviewed widely for her contribution to diversity in the industry. She was named Tastemaker by Bon Appetit magazine. American Airlines boasts 2 of the wines in several of their transatlantic flights, and her wine is featured in the Hulu series The Conversation Project, and soon to be featured on the new release of a series on Tubi next month. P. Harrell Wines is a proud member of Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce, the African American Association of Vintners, the National Black MBA Association, and serves as a co-founder and board member of the Oakland International Film Festival, and still here SF 415. Great.
Thank you.
Great. And last but not least, we have Christopher Renfro, who we saw in the video. Come on out to the stage. A movie star. So because the video did such a good job, I'm going to shorten this a little bit. So Christopher is a San Francisco-based urban viticulturalist and a nonprofit co-founder actively making change in the wine industry, and is the co-founder of the 280 Project. He has been living in the Bay Area for the last 20 years, moved to San Francisco in pursuit of a career in design, but quickly found that his passion for food, nature, and entrepreneurship and justice would take him where he wanted to be. In 2019, he was able to become the steward of San Francisco's only vineyard at Alamany Farms in Bernal Heights. And he felt that having access to youth in this neighborhood and his previous connections in wine, he could start something beneficial. Another essential part of the farm that he's working on, they have an outdoor kitchen where he hosts farm-to-table dinners cooked by chefs. And he and his business partner Haley started Feed the People Collective and have been feeding the neighborhood with the help of volunteers for free for the last 10 months. Everything they cook is purchased with money donated by the people who support their cause. And besides feeding the community, they've also organized regular trash cleanups around the Bay, and they also hand out hygiene kits once a month to the neighborhood. With the vision, hygiene is important. With the vision, mentorship, and resources to provide a good living, he believes that we can put the power back into the community's hands and accomplish our goals. All right, let's give it up for our panelists. So just to ground us in this conversation, we're going to talk about Black food and land. We know Black Americans in food, wine, and hospitality and agriculture continue to face systemic barriers and have been disproportionately impacted by the long shadow of slavery, Jim Crow, persistent wealth and health inequities, and lack of access to capital and land. So I work in Black food and Black farming, and we talk a lot about this with our community members, that in 1910, African Americans made up about 14% of landowners and farmers, and today it's less than 1.2%. And in California, the numbers are even more dire. In the 2017 USDA census, out of 125,000 producers, only 425 of those were African American. So given this history of colonization, wealth inequity, the ongoing climate crisis, there needs to be a change in the industry, and it's imminent and it's necessary. These Black leaders have uplifted, innovated community-based models to center Black food, culture, and traditions, and provide market opportunities, as well as health and wealth and power in the Black Bay Area communities and beyond. So not only will we learn about these stories, we'll also learn how we can support these efforts and learn that the future of food is Black. Yeah. So this is a question for all panelists. Each of you have started or intertwined your work with a deep focus and support and direct service to our community. Why is this a focal point for you? Why is direct service and community work a focal point? I'll give that to Kelly to start. Sorry.
Happy Black History Month, everybody. It's my mom's favorite month. Um, why is it important?
Why is it so important to center our community in the work that you do?
Indirect services.
Direct services, yeah.
So I don't know if y'all know that in some circles, direct services is seen as less than, right? Like our organization has been called the babysitters of the movement. You know what I mean? Like while the big conversations are going on, we're doing the little stuff like feeding people and, making sure their children are safe and engaged, it's important because we are on the ground with community. We see mommies struggling with their babies. We see them struggling to vote and have children, to work and have children, to sleep, to rest and have children. For our work, it is crucial that we are standing in the void of services for families to be able to do all of the big work, big and small. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go next. Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Happy Black History Month, everybody.
Happy Black History Month.
So for me personally, community has always been very important to me and my family, just as I believe it is for most people of color. My mother's family came from Panama, and she came by herself at 21 and made a life for herself here. And I grew up with our family constantly bringing in other people and taking in other people and helping. Everybody was helping one another make something better for themselves. And so then my father and my grandmother had residential care home facilities for the elderly around San Francisco, and I grew up in that business. And the way I always saw it is, as you help others, that's how we all progress. And so even when I started my wine business, it was very important to me because nobody in the wine country ever looked like me. It was always just me and everybody else. And I thought, we belong here just as much as anybody else does. And just like you were talking about the land, and this is our land too. And there are Black farmers, and Black people have been making wine and growing grapes for years. And it just seemed very, it seemed unfair. And so I thought that as I progressed through this business and going down this journey, everything that I did was going to be community focused. And so even though we're 8 years in and we're doing, American Airlines and doing all these other things, I really pride myself on being able to do more of the grassroots activities and events that we do, and being able to partner and donate because it just is an example for other people to do the same thing. So I hope that.
Thank you, Paula.
You're welcome.
Yep. Christopher.
Yeah, so on that answer, I would say the reason I put community first, and especially in our community, traditionally, I feel like America doesn't do that. They don't treat Black people with respect. They don't take care of our safety, so we have to do these types of things. The food program that I created, it was a little error in there. It's been 3 years that we've been feeding the community. And I really feel that in the honor of the Black Panther Party for Peace, that we have to show that we can take care of our own, especially if we have the skills. If we have the skills, if we have the resources, then we have no excuses to be able to do everything we can to make sure that we survive, and we're not just surviving, but we're thriving. So I think that my work is really about also inspiring other people that feel like they need someone to tell them what to do. And, some people just need a little kick, but for me, I just found it watching my grandmother be in the church, seeing what she did with other Black folks, taking care of each other, feeding each other, being in community every Sunday, having that real connection and trust, and being able to make sure that your children are all right, the elders are all right, like all that kind of stuff is very powerful. And I think when the kids are watching that, those are the kind of things we want to leave them with. So.
And you just touched on this, Christopher, and all of you did, but how can Black people redefine and decolonize our relationship to the land, given that history?
Yeah, I can start on that.
let your kids be outside. It starts there. Let your kids feel like it's okay to get dirty. Um, we have a lot of trauma in the Black community around being in the dirt. Um, Same thing. We have a lot of trauma on real estate, stuff like that. It's been stolen from us. So we have to work together to make sure that we can keep it, that we can access it. So that's why I'm out in Napa. That's why I'm in Sonoma. That's why I've created a viticultural apprenticeship to make and force the safe spaces. So land is something that we all take for granted. But when you look on Instagram, you don't see everybody complaining. Some people are looking at it and really celebrating their privilege. We need to get back to understanding we do have certain privileges, and that is our community. So I really want the land to be something that we realize food comes from, shelter comes from, water, clean water, all that kind of stuff. Those are things that we need to survive. Everything else is kind of just whatever. But the core is what we need to get back to.
Thank you. That made me think of something that a farmer out in the East Coast, Chris Bolden Newsom, says. He says the land is the scene of the crime, but it was really the land that kept us safe and with shelter and with medicine and with healing. Yeah. Kelly, thoughts on how to decolonize our food system? Yeah.
I either have hella thoughts or no thoughts. Like it's
Kelly's getting on a flight to Cuba tonight, y'all. Starting her sabbatical.
Yes, please forgive me. I'm trying to keep it together. No, I think for me, my 15 years of working in community and farming is that we have to bring joy back, right? Like we have to bring back the pleasure of planting and harvesting and cultivating and fighting aphids and calling in the good pollinators and beneficial pests, right? Like that's the thing, is that there's so much trauma and there's so much just dislike of the natural world. We don't understand it, we don't like it, it does what it does, I do what I do. I want to be in a place that I can control what is happening, as opposed to being outside in nature where nature handles its business. I think that's the base of everything. I think that's how we start to bring back, or to think about decolonization, is what is it that folks like about outside the natural world? Is it the sunshine? Is it the smells? Is it the birds? And then trying to play to those things.
If we can feed ourselves, we can free ourselves.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. Miss Paula, your thoughts about decolonizing the food system and what that means to you?
Sort of on the same page as you. I have a lot of thoughts, or I don't have any thoughts about it. No, but I feel very much the same as the two of you, in the sense that we've gotten away as a people, gotten away from nature. And we were kind of forced into that position, I believe, right? It wasn't by choice, because historically we always lived in nature and lived off of our land and were able to sustain ourselves. And so it is the responsibility of parents and educators to and all of us, honestly, not just the onus of responsibility isn't just there, but to bring back the joy, to bring some understanding, to let, like, our people don't sometimes understand 100% how good it is for us to live off the land, how healthy it is. Like that's a joyful thing to do. That's a responsible thing to do. That's a good thing for us. And sometimes we don't know, because that's not what we've been taught, or that's not what we've seen, or that's not what's around us in our neighborhoods. And so, I concur with them. It's really around some education around that and exposure, that it's everybody's responsibility to make this happen, especially for the youth to see. Because remember those days when you came home from school, you just ran outside and started playing after school? I miss that for the kids because, you learn so much at that, being in that kind of a space. So, yeah, those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you. This question is for anyone. To create better, brighter Black food futures, what type of support do we need from the public sector and the educational sector, HBCUs, government agencies, to push for change for our communities?
Okay. Honestly, in a city like San Francisco with so much wealth, I think we need to really look at those people that have privilege and power and ask them why they don't want that for us and demand those answers, because it's starting to get very scary that we are being attacked, and our food is our life force. It is everything we need to be able to think clearly, to have good mental, social, emotional, all that kind of stuff. But eating is also where we come together and celebrate and like just really have pure happiness. And I think that if we can get those people to understand the pain that we're going through and that generations have been through, and that it's not necessarily their fault, but if you're benefiting from it, you can do something about it. So I think that's one of them. But then as far as HBCUs, everything else, all this stuff that just happened with like affirmative action, these types of things, you know what I mean? Like we need to really make sure that our kids can go to school so they can get an education and agriculture, things like that, and farming grapes. These are all money making businesses, or the other people wouldn't be doing it either. So I think that's the reality, is that we need to stop pretending that we don't want to make money in this, that we don't want to support our families, that we just want junk food. We need to get the liquor stores out of our neighborhoods. Simple. But these are things that people have been saying for years. So when are we actually going to make it happen? So.
And I'm going to turn this question to Paula as it relates to what Chris was saying about thinking about our city structures and democratizing those to support Black food industries. How can we democratize the wine industry into a space that centers the voices and needs and the tastes, really, of our community?
So this is a challenge. This is a very big challenge because the wine industry has been historically a white male industry. And we are making some headway and we're starting to make some changes, but it's not been easy. There's a few things. One is the people that are interested in, like myself, in being a part of this industry have to band together. Like we really have to, we've created a few organizations already, but we have to find a way to support one another in a way that we can then bring more people into this industry. We can't wait for somebody else to do it exactly. What's happening now is we are getting a lot of people that are creating new programs. There are different programs in wine and viticulture that are African American led or Latino led, and that's one way that we can help make a difference there, because it's not waiting for somebody else to give us a handout to do it, but also holding these other schools accountable to saying, or programs accountable to saying, you, this program needs to be diverse. And think about it. I mean, we all know the story. We're really diverse and interesting people. We bring a lot of richness and culture and things to every industry, and wine is not an exception. And so I believe that us being able to hold these other groups accountable to say, you have to also become diverse. This has to be diverse and inclusive in some way or another, your different programs. But more so, we have to band together and make it happen ourselves. The more we show up, thank you, the more we show up, which is happening now. There's the African American Association of Vintners. There's several other African American vintners associations that we work together, and then we go to some of the bigger organizations and the bigger companies to say, we need to partner with you. You need to partner with us so that we can have, bigger programs for youth that are coming into wine, not youth, but students that are getting into wine, that you can put some funding towards some of these programs that are happening. It's really a part of us starting with us, and then reaching out to the different organizations that can make a difference. It's happening slowly. It's happening very slowly but surely. But I think that the more that we have access to those opportunities, the better. And it's very challenging with capital. Like wine is a very capital intensive business. And capital is the way that you're accessing capital. It's not easy for people of color to do so. It's very racially charged. So we also have to put together our own funding sources or work with, organizations and banks to be able to have them put together programs that are going to support people of color in getting access to capital to start these types of businesses, whether it be wine or if it's agriculture. It just it's not a fair level playing field right now. And so these are some of the things that I think need to happen.
Thank you. Yeah. Chris, anything to add about the wine industry in particular as it relates to democratizing it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people in Napa that are holding hundreds of acres, thousands of acres, could probably give up a couple. Seriously. When you have events like Bottle Rock or the Blue Note Jazz Festival, they want us there, but it's consumers. So it's one of those things. It's like if we're really talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, then the people with the biggest pocketbooks and the biggest land holdings can break off a little bit of it. And I'm sure it ain't gonna hurt them at all. I'm sure if they really want us to be at their tasting rooms, they could really be more inviting. So I think as far as education, I'm lucky that I've been working in wine long enough to make connections to where I have access to UC Davis. So that is one of the top viticultural schools in America, and I'm trying to get as many Black youth into that school instead of prison. So that kind of thing. And I mean, honestly, it's also the education around wine. You know what I mean? Everybody thinks that we only drink Moscato. They think we only drink sweet wine. There are so many well-to-do Black people, but we forget that because they don't want to show it. So I think we need to start also reminding our youth that they can hold themselves a certain way, that they can be in certain industries, just like tech, just like medical, all this stuff. Wine is a billion-dollar industry. So I understand why it's so hard right now. So
Yeah, thank you for that. And I don't hate Moscato, but but you're right. College days, yes. Okay. And that's not all that I drink. Yep. Not as what is Pinot Noir? Paula's Pinot Noir. Paula's Pinot Noir. Absolutely. Yes.
I just wanted to add something really
please,
quickly on
yes.
that note of talking about Moscato and sweet wines. No, we don't all drink sweet wines, but everybody has their own palate, right? And this is one thing that I really try and explain and share with people, not explain, but share with people and encourage people is own your own palate. If you whatever you like it. But learn about everything. Know the differences. Don't stick to one thing. You need to actually explore a little bit. But I always tell people, don't. I want us to be able to go out there and be able to ask any questions we want to ask when we go to a tasting room or a restaurant or whatever, and be able to own whatever it is you like, because wine is a very personal experience, right? And your palates, everybody's palates are a little bit different. Like I mentioned, I'm a Panamanian. We're West Indian Panamanians. Everything we eat is fire. And so, I make a Riesling, and it's a dry Riesling, so it's not a sweet Riesling, but it goes really well with spicy food. And so it just depends. Everybody else might not care for that, but I think it's good to make sure you own your own palate. Yeah.
Any other West Indians out here? Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. And as we were backstage prepping for this, I was ear hustling a little bit with as Kelly and Chris were talking. And Kelly, you said something going off script a little. You said, if I'm not going to do this, who is going to? And there's a question in there about longevity and what it takes to keep doing this and staying grounded and staying rested. And you are, I don't know if you know this, but one of my mentors, femtors, and I look to you about how to stay grounded and how to stay at peace while doing this work. And if you could shed any light on this, because this is not leading a nonprofit in the food and ag world is not easy. Yeah.
Thank you for the question. You should ask anyone but me. I feel like when I first started acting on Verba, whatever, close to 14 years ago, there was a movement of heal the healers. And I was in all these meetings with other executive directors that were talking about the cumulative effect of working with community, working in community, working against, white supremacy and systematic oppression. And I didn't know what they were talking about. I was like, I don't know. I just got here. I'm fresh. I'm ready. Let's do this. I was born for this. Bring it on. And boy, did life bring it on. This work, the community, what the community is going through on any given day for the last 14 years. What children have gone through in the pandemic. All of these things, what I have gone through, right? Like I very often, that's one reason why I'm taking my sabbatical now, is because I realized when my child left after high school that I don't really know how to be Kelly. I don't know how to be anything but a mom or acting on verba. That's all I do. Yeah, I mean, I am so proud of that, but I am also I know now what those EDs were talking about. I know now that it isn't sustainable to just keep grinding until there's no more left. It's but also I feel the pressure and the responsibility and the privilege of being a Black woman and saying, F it, I'll do it, right? Like, who else will? Who else can? Who else has the vision, the stamina, the network, the heart, to reach out and to actually make these things happen? All that to say, I don't know. Okay. And to just, and to be really, really transparent with all of you. Like I am confused all the time. I am conflicted all the time. Is it better for my daughter to see a strong Black woman that can handle it? Or is it better for my daughter to see, a human being that's, vulnerable and confused and conflicted, Facebook says both, I don't know, but I do know, and if I don't have to speak anymore today, but I do know that we are beautiful and we are precious and we are beloved and we are brilliant and we have within us everything we need to be able to be successful in order to move the needle, in order to push the arc even more towards justice. We have the articulation, we have the stamina, we have all of those things to make it happen, but we got to do it together, at least in part, at least some parts of this we have to do together. That's my last thing. Thank you.
This is my time right here. 3 minutes. Yeah. Okay. All right. So in our last 3 minutes, I'm just gonna. No, that's great. Just as a one sentence close out, favorite meal, and maybe paired with your favorite wine. Yeah. So we can wrap us up here.
I don't know if I can limit this to 1 minute, but let me see here. Or one sentence, I should say. I am a meat lover. So my favorite meal is steak. A ribeye bone-in to be specific. And and I love to pair it with my Zinfandel or any Zinfandel. My Zinfandel is primarily Zin with a little bit of Petit Syrah and Syrah blended into it. Zins are big, hearty wines, generally speaking, that match up very well with big, hearty steaks. They won't overpower the food, and the food won't overpower the wine. They pair very, very well together. So yeah, I'm steak and Zin.
Steak and Zin. Great.
Go ahead.
Yep.
I'm going to say one more thing about the resilience. It'll be really quick.
Yes.
There is no other way to do it. You have to wake up every single day and just make it happen. Literally, if you wake up and you can put your feet on the ground, you have another chance. So, yeah. But the food, it would be my grandmother's gumbo. And it might actually just be beer. But if I had to choose a wine, it would be a light red, like a nice light red, chillable maybe.
Chilled. Kelly, you want to take us home?
Sure. Oprah told a story years ago about the most shameful thing she's ever done, LOL, was eat an entire thing of lasagna. And when I heard her say that, I was like, challenge accepted. So shame me, lasagna, shame me. So definitely, and the wine depends on the time of year because I'm a novice. So cold Chardonnay in the summer, and room temperature but breathed or whatever expired. I don't know how. That's it. The airing, yeah, air it out. Red.
Air it out
in the
air
winter. Thank y'all.
Well, let's give a round of applause for our panelists. Oh, thank you, thank you.
Hi, my name is Taylor. I'm the founder of Taylor J Collection. We are a women's contemporary clothing brand located right here in Oakland, California. The journey of a woman comes with many changes, and that's why we are very intentional about all of our designs and collections. We make sure to provide elevated comfort, sustainability, versatility, and of course, style. If you're in the Bay Area, come by, say hi, and take some comfy pieces home to add to your closet. Shop with us online at taylorjcollection.com.
Today's live stream is being brought to you by Clari-T Media. Support the San Francisco Dreamkeeper Initiative, recognizing and investing in the diverse Black and African American communities of San Francisco with a wide range of programs to support youth, families, seniors, and members of the Black LGBTQ+ communities. Dreamkeeper San Francisco is fostering hope for generations of Black people to feel free to dream boldly. Visit dreamkeepersf.org today. Tune in weekdays to the Bay Area Mental Health Hour on YouTube, Instagram, and on Facebook. You'll find us covering issues surrounding your everyday coping skills and your mental health and wellness. And remember, your mental health matters as much as your physical health.
In downtown Oakland at Coco Noir, one of Oakland's first Black-owned, woman-owned wine bar. Today is their grand opening and ribbon cutting celebration, so let's go in and try some wine. Megan, what brought you here?
Well, this brought me here because I'm an investor. Liz brought it to my attention a few years ago, and I live in Ohio, but I wanted to be out here for this.
Hello, I'm Missouri Sonola, and we're at Coco Noir's grand opening, and I am here with Cheryl Grant.
Oh my God, what an honor to be here. What an honor to meet you. I am so proud of Alicia. She is a testimony to what's possible when you believe. She did this against all odds, and I just wish her much continued success in everything. This is only the beginning of greater things, and you have to come. You have to come check her out and support her.
These are awesome women entrepreneurs that want to introduce us to all these new Black-owned wineries to just change the face of what entrepreneurship looks like. And I'm so excited that they're part of the downtown Oakland Renaissance, this awesome, beautiful new building. I love these founders, and we have all got to support them. but started in Oakland.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see the part. I'm one of the first to do this.
Tune in weekdays to the Bay Area Mental Health Hour on YouTube, Instagram, and on Facebook. You'll find us covering issues surrounding your everyday coping skills and your mental health and wellness. And remember, your mental health matters as much as your physical health.